Class of 2021, you may be seated. As we say whenever we gather together, let us remember that we're in the holy presence of our God and in the holy presence of one another. Before we begin today's ceremony, I want to thank the head of Horace Mann, Dr. Thomas Kelly, and the Horace Mann staff for making today possible. Dr. Kelly, I want to ask you to join me as I present to you this thank you card that the class of 2021 put together for you.
Thank you so much. Congratulations, graduates. You have much to be proud of, and we know because we see at HM. But good morning to everyone under the tent. What an honor, what a privilege it is to have our De La Salle family on our campus. Not just in fellowship, but out of love and in deep appreciation of what the leadership represents, the mission and vision of the school, the caliber and the commitment of the faculty and the staff, and certainly, last but not least, each and every one of you. You are remarkable human beings, and you're about to find out just how special you are as you move on with the next leg of your journey. So tuck in your back pocket, in addition to the De La Salle family, you can always come to HM if you have a question or concern, or there's something we can do to support you. But an early congratulations, a warm welcome, and a much love to everybody. Cheers.
It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of our parents, guardians, families, trustees, friends, and honored guests here this morning. This is a moment of tremendous joy and great celebration. After a challenging year and a half, this is an emotionally charged day for all of us. Class of 2021, you have long anticipated this day. Some with eagerness, others with anxiety, and still others with a complicated mix of emotions. Whatever your feelings may be, I hope that you hold a strong sense of pride in your accomplishments. As I look around, I see many proud and eager faces. I want to acknowledge all of those who helped to get the 8th graders to this moment. I want to first recognize the families who are here today and those who are unable to join us this morning. Your sacrifice and your love for your children are constant motivators, pushing them through even the most difficult moments. Thank you for entrusting your most precious gifts to us. Faculty, staff, members of the board, and sponsors, your selflessness in providing a truly memorable experience for the students at De La Salle Academy is inspiration to all who come through our doors. Thank you for the extraordinary work that you do. Class of 2021. We are here today because of you. Everyone here has invested in you because we believe in you, even when you may not believe in yourself. We hold high expectations of you because we know the potential you possess, even if you may not. We love you, especially when you have difficulty loving yourself. If you possess the power to unite us all here for this shared mission, imagine what else you're capable of. My brothers and sisters, I pray that you go forth and lead. Graduation is more than just an ending of one chapter in your life and the beginning of another. As you continue your journey, I hope you reflect often on the lessons you have learned in your time at De La Salle Academy. Believe in yourself so that you may reach your goals and achieve your dreams. Be the best you can be so that you may fill your lives and the lives of those around you with happiness and pride. You have already taken the first step by making it today to this ceremony. Now it is time to take your next step in building towards your future. Congratulations, class of 2021. Those who represent the class at graduation are nominated by their peers based on their contributions to the community. The young man who is going to speak to you in a moment joined us in the 6th grade. From the beginning, he was determined to leave his mark on this community, and that he has. He shows great compassion and generosity towards others. He takes joy in making others smile and laugh. And he is always willing to lend a hand to anyone who needs. Over the years, he has embodied what it means to be a servant leader. Last month, his classmates nominated him for the honor of addressing you this morning, and the faculty confirmed that nomination. So it is with great pride that I ask you to please give a very warm welcome to our first speaker of the class of 2021, Samuel Kim.
Good morning, graduates, faculty, and family. It is a huge honor for me to be standing here in front of you today and say my graduation speech. First, I'd like to give a huge round of applause to the class of 2021 for making it here. We made it. We're finally going to high school. It feels surreal that we as a class just walked through the aisle that I saw the 8th graders walking through 2 years ago. I remember thinking back then with my friends that we still have a long time left before we put on those academic regalias and walk down the aisle. Well, here we are now, graduating and going off to high school. I'd like to begin my speech with the first thing I learned in Spanish, with Mr. Hip. Before I read it, I would like to say that I'm not the best at Spanish. ¿Qué es la vida? Un frenesí. ¿Qué es la vida? Una ilusión, una sombra, una ficción. Y el mayor bien es pequeño, que toda la vida es sueño, y los sueños, sueños son. To translate, the poem says, what is life? A frenzy. What is life? An illusion, a shadow, a fiction. And the greatest good is small, that all life is a dream, and dreams are dreams. This might not be the sweetest thing to tell a 6th grader who has just graduated from elementary school and is beginning to understand their own life. But the meaning is clear. Life is short, and our perception of life might not be what it actually is. Like the meaning of the poem, our actual time at De La Salle passed by so much faster than we thought, and was different from what I thought it would be. Thinking of the past that has flown by us, I still remember coming to De La Salle's orientation with high hopes and dreams for myself. Because I've heard my sister's experiences at home, I wanted to go to the best high school possible and thought of De La Salle just as a stepping stone to a prestigious high school. Little did I know that De La Salle would provide experiences and lessons that I would carry with me throughout my entire life. Most importantly, I learned the importance of mentors and friends. The teachers at De La Salle really taught me that they aren't just here to teach academically, but to lead us to the right path in our adolescence and maturity. I'll be forever grateful to Mr. Tapscott, as he has been the one to lead me through much of my adolescence and help me to mature throughout my time at Salle Academy. Before COVID-19 became a global pandemic, I spent a lot of time with Mr. T and talked to him about many personal topics. He gave me valuable advice to get through those situations, and as one of my 7th grade homeroom teachers and my advisor throughout 7th and 8th grade, I was able to spend time with him and get closer to him. He's my mentor, and I learned many lessons from him. One of the many lessons I learned from him and De La Salle is that friends are more than just people you have fun with. They are those who you are able to rely on to support you and will be there for you through the sunny and stormy periods. I too faced many challenges throughout De La Salle, and one of them was finding a sense of identity. Especially in late 7th grade and early 8th grade, I want to know exactly who I am and who I wanted to be. This led me to talk to my friends online for long periods of time and have deep conversations with them about our individual identities. In the end, I felt loved by you all, and I really appreciate all the love you have shown me. I truly hope I have shown the same love to you. I hope that every one of you found friends with those abounding love at De La Salle, and that you will continue to find those friends in high school, college, and in the future. I hope you are able to find many friends with abounding love to share. Whatever our future holds, I wish you all the best, and know that you will excel in whatever you put your mind to. Our time in life is always shorter than we think, so let's make sure we don't regret anything we do, and always live each moment, putting our full effort into whatever we're doing. The moments that I have been through with each and every one of you, whether they be in classes, opportunity, in the halls, or even through text, have really been a great pleasure, and I want to take this time to thank you for that. Just like the poem says, remember that life is short and may not always be what we think it is. In the time we will experience after De La Salle, let's continue to find the true meaning of each other's lives and reach for our dreams, because there is nothing we cannot accomplish through hard work, dedication, and each other's love. Thank you so much for listening, and once again, congratulations, class of 2021.
I'm going to ask the graduates to please stand. Before the graduates share their words of thanksgiving, we will begin with a poem by Langston Hughes that has become a tradition at De La Salle. It's become our school song. It's become our motto by which we live. And so, graduates, please join me in reciting Dreams by Langston Hughes. Hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, for when dreams go, life is a barren field frozen with snow. Lord, hear our prayer. Graduates, class of 2021, you may be seated. De La Salle Academy began a tradition back in 1994, the year the first alumni graduated from college. That year, and every year since, we have asked our alumni graduating from college to speak at our own graduation. This year, we have two wonderful alumni from the De La Salle Academy class of 2013 to share their words of wisdom with this year's graduating class. Kariata Diallo came to De La Salle Academy as a sixth grader from my neighborhood. from my elementary school. Upon graduation, she attended the prestigious Columbia Grammar and Preparatory School. While in high school, Kariata belonged to and eventually co-led Mecca, the school's diversity and inclusion club. She participated in dance and theater and worked as a tutor and teaching assistant. Kariata was awarded the Director's Award for commitment, character, and authenticity. After high school, Kariata was accepted into Swarthmore College, receiving the Winifred Comic Bond Scholarship. She worked with Swarthmore's Black Cultural Center. Kariata also served as an educational psychology research assistant, working on motivation and learning research with middle school-aged students in the local Chester, Pennsylvania community. And I'm excited to share that as a result of her work as a research assistant, Kariata will soon be published. So look out for that. She also tutored with Dare to Soar, again in the Chester community of Pennsylvania, and she spent some time as a hospice care volunteer. Recently, Kariata graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Educational Studies and English Literature with high honors. She received the Martha E. Tyson Fellowship, a fellowship that's awarded to a female graduating senior who plans to enter elementary or secondary work. This fellowship will help Kariata pursue her master's degree at the University of Pennsylvania's Graduate School of Education. She is enrolled in the Independent School Teaching Residency Program and will be a teaching fellow at the Trinity School in Manhattan. Declan Casey also joined the De La Salle Academy community in the 6th grade. After graduating from De La Salle, Declan attended the Browning School, a top private school for boys in New York City. In high school, Declan was a member of the school's service organization called the Browning Key Society. He became the head of the yearbook committee and played on Browning's varsity soccer team. After graduating from high school, Declan attended Allegheny College, a private liberal arts college in Pennsylvania. He served as the president of the college's soccer team, and Declan founded and led the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and Self-Defense Club at Allegheny. He was also a teaching assistant and technical leader for the computer science program. And in May, Declan graduated from Allegheny College with a Bachelor of Science degree in computer science with a minor in Spanish. Declan is pursuing employment in the software and technology industry. He hopes to attend graduate school in the near future to pursue an advanced degree in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And so it is with great pride that I ask you all to join me in welcoming our alumni speakers of the class of 2013, Kariata Diallo and Declan Casey.
Hello. I'd like to begin by congratulating you, De La Salle Academy class of 2021. I also want to congratulate your families who have helped you along the way and are here today to celebrate your accomplishments. In fact, to call your graduation an accomplishment would be an understatement, as we all know how much this class in particular has had to live through to get here. In this past year and a half of uncertainty and loss, you have all made it. You've learned to adapt to online learning and to not seeing your teachers and friends as often, but more than adapt, you've achieved in the most difficult of circumstances. Congratulations. I was asked to speak to you all today to share my experiences and offer advice to you all. I'm sure you'll all do well in high school, but we know that learning is more than just what happens inside the classroom. While at De La Salle, I learned subjects like biology and French, the value of community, and most importantly, how to make a subway face so no one talks to me on the train. So do with my words what you will, but I hope they will help you in your lives beyond De La Salle. From my experiences after De La Salle, and frankly with the help of my experiences while in De La Salle, I would like to share with you 3 valuable lessons that I have learned. First, know your worth. Having gone to Columbia Prep for high school and then later to Swarthmore College, I know what it feels like to being the only one in a room. The only Black woman, the only low-income student, the only immigrant. These situations can be isolating and lead to feelings of imposter syndrome where you doubt yourself and your place. These feelings can be disconcerting at best and paralyzing at worst. Instead, over the years, I've learned to embrace who I am and what I bring to the table. In my educational studies, I've come across this concept of funds of knowledge. A funds of knowledge approach to teaching rejects what people too often think about students from underrepresented groups, that they have come to the classroom with nothing to offer. These people look at high-achieving students like ourselves as succeeding despite where we come from. Instead, the funds of knowledge approach appreciates the competence and knowledge students have from their experiences, from their families, from their communities. We are successful in spite of, not in spite of, but because of where we come from. I encourage you to all go into high school and your futures looking at yourselves from a funds of knowledge approach. You are worthy and deserving and have so much to offer. Second, know that you are not alone. And with that said, reach out for help when you need it. On one of my first visits back to De La Salle after graduating, Mr. Tapscott asked me if I had a teacher at my high school that I could go to if I needed help or just to chat, someone I could trust. At the time, I did not give it too much thought, but I later realized how important that question was. You see, unlike De La Salle, where everyone makes themselves available for help and encourages you to ask, the places I went and the places you are all headed demand that you seek out their resources. As a 1.5 generation student, I was born in Guinea and raised in the Bronx. I did not and still do not understand many aspects of US culture. Model UN was one of them, but I joined the club in high school anyway. I remember swallowing my pride to speak to my advisor about not really fitting in at Model UN before our first conference. He reassured me and helped me figure out exactly what it was I was supposed to be doing in the club. That meeting was a tremendous help, not only for my admittedly short-lived Model UN career, but also in showing me that I had access to help. I'd realized the importance and the answer to Mr. Tapscott's question. But my advisor would have never known I was struggling if I had not gone to him first. Especially now that you have De La Salle in your network, you are not alone. And this does not stop at faculty and staff. Know that you have made lifelong friends here. At De La Salle, I learned that sometimes friendship can be family. And yes, I still talk to my De La Salle friends after all these years. They even told me they would tune in to listen to my speech if they wake up in time. That's one thing I don't miss about De La Salle, waking up at 6 a.m. and getting on the 2 train. With that said, I urge you to reach out to your friends because they will be one of the few people that truly understand your experiences because they were there with you. Finally, know the value of your voice. Use your voice to advocate for yourself and for others. Being at a predominantly white institution as a person of color, not to mention first gen and low income, is a unique experience in its challenges. It can be uncomfortable, and you might find it easier to try to fit in than to voice your discomforts. But as poet Audre Lorde said, when we speak, we are afraid our words will not be heard or welcomed. But when we are silent, we still are afraid, so it is better to speak. I promise you will find contentment and joy in staying true to your values and will find others with which you can create community. Here, I'm using my voice to give back to De La Salle, a community that has given me so much. Again, congratulations, class of 2021, and thank you.
Tough act to follow. Good morning. It's Brother Brian, Dr. Gonzalez, Mr. Tapscott, board members, and the esteemed faculty of De La Salle. Thank you for giving me the honor and privilege of speaking to this year's graduating class. To the class of 2021, congratulations. Graduating from an institution as academically rigorous as De La Salle with all of the conditions you've dealt with this past year and a half is not an achievement to be taken lightly by any means. I know you've probably heard this just as much as I have and Kariata has this past year, but please don't let these circumstances diminish your accomplishment, because truthfully, I know I've let them diminish mine a little bit. The challenges you've faced and now overcome are challenges you will remember for a long time. But more importantly, at least in my opinion, the friends and family you've created and built here will serve you as you will serve them for even longer. Now, I'm sure you've heard Brother Brian, Mr. Tapscott, Dr. Gonzalez, and the rest of the faculty say that over the past few months or weeks that the person you are when you walk down the aisle is the person you'll be for the rest of your life. I want to tell you a couple stories about how the person I was when I walked down the aisle and how De La Salle helped me become that person. The summer before 6th grade, before officially enrolling at De La Salle, I spent a lot of time thinking about whether I wanted to take up this new challenge or remain comfortable in public school with all my neighborhood friends. My sister spent a year at De La Salle before me, so I was aware of the challenges, how difficult classes would be, and how much time I would have to spend doing work. And not to mention, like many of my classmates, Kariata included, my sister was and is absolutely brilliant, so one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. So how did I stand a chance here, you know? Ultimately, I chose De La Salle because it just seemed like the right thing to do. I didn't really want to do it at first, but I chose because it seemed like the right thing to do. I thought my parents might have been disappointed in me if I didn't challenge myself, and I thought eventually I might have been disappointed in myself, you know, maybe in a few years that I didn't challenge myself more than I could have. My natural inclination has always been to push myself, but only as hard as I needed to, and no more. This part of me always bugged me a little bit. I never felt fully comfortable choosing the second or even third most difficult option, but I usually did and still do in a lot of cases. So I was hoping that De La Salle would only push me a little bit, just enough to make me feel a little uncomfortable. That is not what happened. I vividly remember my first few weeks as a 6th grader, just absolutely struggling, particularly with Mr. Hip's Spanish class, as I'm sure some of you else out there have too. Asking of the faculty, a tough class, especially for the students new to the De La Salle workload. It was a lot. Almost like a routine, every day after school, I'd call my mom, bawling, telling her I just wasn't cut out for this place, I wouldn't make it. Thankfully, my parents didn't let me quit, and my teachers didn't quit on me. My parents knew I made a commitment. My mom has since told me she was really worried for me too, and even was tempted to consider letting me leave at moments. Thankfully, she didn't, and thankfully neither did Mr. Hip. As I'm sure some of you know, he would spend exorbitant amounts of time just running through the basics, helping me memorize and pronounce words, all to do it again with another student patiently waiting in line with several more waiting behind them. More importantly, Mr. Hip instilled in me that I had to work and repeat these practices on my own time, every day. I did, and luckily for me, I had a support system in my sister and persistent parents who wanted to see me succeed. After those first few really tough weeks, I ultimately fell in love with learning the language, and eventually, I completed my computer science senior thesis, which heavily relied on analyzing Spanish Twitter. So the things you hate at first might just be the things you learn to love, but you won't know what those things are until you really succeed and break past those first few walls. You won't be successful if you bump into a roadblock and turn right back around. But academic challenges are not the only ones that De La Salle helped me through. De La Salle was the only institution that I can remember that really forced me to confront my own mental health at such a young age. De La Salle forced me to confront some really big ideas, like my anxieties, fears, and demons, which ultimately forced me to grow. A lot like Mr. Hip and Mr. Green did in the classroom and several other teachers at De La Salle. All of them, truthfully. Being forced to grow might seem like a bad thing. Like I had no say in the matter. Like De La Salle made me do a lot of things that I didn't want to do, put me in situations I never wanted to be in. But I know for a fact that if De La Salle didn't force me to grow, if the loving and nurturing community here didn't demand more from me each and every day, there's a chance nobody else would have. I would have had to navigate these difficult lessons and situations on my own. If you have trouble understanding why this community didn't allow that, soon, over the next 4 years after that too, you'll meet people who didn't have this supportive community to push them to actively confront their uncomfortable thoughts. And maybe you'll come to appreciate it then. Going forward, if you challenge yourself the way that De La Salle has challenged you these last few years, you'll be a far braver and stronger person than you could ever possibly imagine. Don't just let life happen to you. You'll do yourself and everyone close to a massive favor by choosing to acknowledge who you truly are, and especially your bad habits, when you first notice them. To quote one of my personal heroes, Luke Skywalker, confronting fear is the destiny of the Jedi. I had to include a Star Wars quote, I'm sorry. I have one last bit of advice for you before my time comes to an end. Advice I didn't take when I was in your position, advice Kariata gave too. Make sure to do your best to keep those you love, but more importantly, those who love you, with you. I have many incredible friends because of this community, but I'd be lying to you if I told you I'm still in consistent contact with each and every one of them, each and every one of the people I loved and held dear during my time at De La Salle. There are many who I don't speak to often enough because of my own bad habits. I regret that a lot, and I encourage you all to start thinking sooner rather than later, about how you will remain connected to the people sitting with you today. But for now, safely enjoy the summer and celebrate with each other while you still can before your hectic high school schedules begin, because trust me, they will be very, very hectic. Congratulations to all of you, De La Salle Academy class of 2021, and thank you.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to once again welcome the entire De La Salle community to this momentous and historic gathering as we celebrate the class of 2021. I want to particularly thank Mr. Michael Tapscott, Ms. Deirdre O'Brien, and the rest of the leadership team for their efforts in helping to organize this day. I would also like to recognize Brother Brian for his continued support, wise counsel, grace, and mentorship over the past year. My gratitude to the Board of Trustees for their support, expertise, and trust over the past year of head-spinning challenges. I especially want to thank Dr. Tom Kelly, Mr. Gordon Jensen, and the staff at Horace Mann for their continued support of De La Salle Academy, their hospitality and generosity in hosting us here today. When I asked the board to begin thinking about ways we could ensure that graduation was in person this year, Dr. Kelly immediately raised his hand and said HM had our back. So again, thanks so much, Tom. I also want to express my respect and admiration for the most loving, courageous, and creative educators I know, the De La Salle teachers and staff. Thank you for all the love you have poured into us and these students and these families. Lastly, I would like to acknowledge the members of the extended faculty this year, the parents, guardians, and caretakers of our students, because along with the teachers, you all made it possible through hybrid, remote, and in-person learning for our graduates to be seated here today. So thank you. Before I deliver my remarks, I want to acknowledge that we are in the traditional lands of the Lenape people, and I ask for the blessings of our ancestors and all life forces to address you all today. My dear graduates of the class of 2021, earlier in the graduation program, you all recited some powerful words by the great Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. In a line that will be repeated in many of his sermons and speeches, Dr. King stated, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of convenience and comfort, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." This excerpt, embedded in our prayers of thanksgiving, has been recited by generations of De La Salle students, including myself. But perhaps no other graduating class has uttered these words with a more firsthand collective experience of challenge and controversy than the class of 2021. One of the most profound questions schools help us to wrestle with, especially in times of challenge and controversy, is what does it mean to be human? And in no other stage in our schooling is that question more important than middle school. At De La Salle, we strive to ensure that you don't just leave here academically prepared to go on to high school, but that you can honestly say that you have begun the work of questioning who you are, crafting your non-negotiable values, and better understanding your role in contributing to a complex and unending tapestry of the human condition. Moreover, De La Salle works tirelessly to ensure that you have done so in an environment that allows you to read, write, create, perform, and collaborate with living and breathing examples of the expansiveness of our humanity. As we often lament, it is unlikely that you will ever again in your educational careers be surrounded with the kind of diverse community you have bore witness to in the past 2 or 3 years. This community is a gift and an honor that provides you wisdom and insights that are too often missing from rooms where crucial discussions are occurring and key decisions are being made. Understand that during your De La Salle career, you not only lived and engaged with what it meant to be human through your retreats, homerooms, advisories, community meetings, research papers, and final projects, but you also did so in the midst of a time where, as a society, we were faced with questions about our existence, questions that often dealt with life and death. This time last year, I was remarking to our community that we are at a moment where our world was figuratively and literally on fire. Whether it was the human death toll brought out by COVID, calls for social justice, or struggles with climate change. As a world, we collectively faced our fragility and finitude in a way that we had not done so in quite some time. We were reminded once again that we are not gods, not immortals, but instead we are but vulnerable human beings that are from time to time humbled by forces greater than ourselves. Similarly, our young adolescence is when we often first engage with the limits of our personal and collective humanity. Whether it is our encounter with a moving novel, a dark chapter in our national history, a friendship that is tested by a rumor, or critical feedback we were given on an assignment. Stepping into the world of young adulthood comes with great privileges and excitement, but also the great responsibilities of taking increased ownership of an imperfect existence and society. Through trial and error, we identify parts of ourselves and our society that will continue to live on and parts of us that no longer will serve us. We are constantly involved in cycles of birth, death, and renewal. In speaking with many of you and in reflecting my own De La Salle experience, it is at De La Salle where many of you first realized that you are no longer the student of the month, that you are no longer going to get 100 or an A on every single assignment, and that you would not always be able to please your parents and other caring adults in your life. At De La Salle, we begin the work of letting go of the pristine, sanitized narrative of what we have been told we were, and we begin the courageous work of embracing the messiness, complexity, and uniqueness of our own humanity. While certainly not the way we would have planned to have welcomed you into young adulthood, your experience with the limits of our humanity will most certainly serve you well, as your generation will be crucial in the important work ahead of reimagining what kind of new world and society are possible. While an important part of your process in looking back at this year should be mourning the experiences you missed out on, I hope you will also make time to recognize that you have been part of a process of the rebirth and renewal of our community. The gift that you were given and the gift you have given us is your holy presence and the holy presence of one another. In a time of great collective suffering, you are all lights to one another and to us, the faculty. On more than one occasion, I shed tears of joy as I watched you all lead advisories, participate and cheer on the younger students at assemblies and community meetings, and engage with your peers and your teachers in spirited discussions. You see, class of 2021, in a time of challenge and controversy, you are all crucial in supporting the school in its rebirth and renewal. As a class, you emerge with an incredible legacy. You all kept the light of this community going in the midst of the darkness. Even when it was difficult and you struggled with your own problems and issues, you never allowed yourselves or this community to be consumed in defeat or fear. While you may not fully experience it yourself, what you have done this past year will have ripple effects for generations of students and faculty to come because you all persisted and remained undefeated. So as you get ready to step on the stage and receive your diploma, take a moment to acknowledge that through your efforts, De La Salle lives on because of you. It will live on in the younger ones who felt safe enough to share their passions and full selves with us, and with the faculty who during their lowest points were reinvigorated by your contributions and engagements with them. Moreover, our world will be better because you have stared fear and despair in the face and you did not flinch. Instead, you courageously figured out ways to bring joy and light in times where there were none for yourselves, for each other, and for the adults. My prayer as you transition into new communities is that the world follow your lead as you emerge with the love and the courage that only a De La Sallian could create. Congratulations, class of 2021. We love you.
Good morning. We ask that you hold your applause till the end. It is my pleasure to now present to you the graduating class of 2021. Maya Rodriguez. Sagata Das. Gifty Ba. Maisha Alam. Ramal Mahmood. Jesminder Vega. Nabiha Akbar. Bora Maloti. Chloe Yang. Rayhan Booya. Hannah Yang. Ethan Lee. Rickson Gyaltsen. Corey Adams. Yangchin Sherpa. Melanie Salazar Carlos. Haley Wan. Sarah Christie. Jane Kim. Jane Lim. Pearl Liu. Ria Song. Mahira Bilkis. Jordan Ortega. Oki Peterkin. Ariel Williams. Sama El Shamsheri. Edwin Shin. Justin Belnavis. Renelle Hannah Ford. Take your time. Samuel Kim. Keith Song. Priscilla Negron Flores. Samuel Asiedu. Danielle Na Korkoi Atto. Victoria Collado. Mia Rodriguez. Hazel Frederick. Howen Yan. Layla Hadaira. Paul Pecco. Lilith Whiteley. Rhoda Farubabe. Shayann Falconer. Lonnie Moon. Kellen Yu. Kayla Jones. Anthony Rodriguez. Daniel Sherpa. Udeli Matos. Miriam So. Clive Chong.
Before we proceed, I want to acknowledge one of our students, Layla Pallone, who was unable to be with us in person today. I hope that she's watching and know that we love you and we wish you were here. So congratulations to all of our graduates. De La Salle Academy asks its students to strive to be their best, both academically and as community members. Instead of competing against each other, the students are asked to support one another in achieving this goal. For these reasons, it is no wonder her peers nominated her to represent them today. In a moment, you will meet another wonderful De La Salle Academy student who came to us in the 6th grade. She made the adjustment to De La Salle's rigor seem fairly easy. And over the years, she has grown into a leader and a mentor to her peers. She is thoughtful, loving, and always willing to lend a hand. Her classmates recognized her dedication to serving the community, as well as her academic achievement, when they chose her to speak on their behalf today. Folks, it is with great pride and joy that I present to you our second speaker for the class of 2021, Yangchin Sherpa.
Good morning, faculty, students, trustees, family, friends, and of course, the graduating class of 2021. First of all, I would like to say congratulations to my fellow graduates for making it through 3 very eventful years. I'm honored to be speaking as one of your representatives for our class. I never thought I would be the one up here, considering, funny thing actually, in the beginning, I did not want to come to De La Salle. I didn't have anything against the school. I just didn't want to come because it was my mom that made the decision for me. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was a great decision on her part. So I would first like to take the time to thank her and the rest of the parents for supporting and encouraging us all throughout our time at De La Salle. One of my first memories at De La Salle was orientation. I remember there were many volunteers from the older grades, and my mom and I were being approached over and over again, with people saying the same things like, "You're going to love it here, we're all like family." And I just thought, who paid them? That was my mindset because, like most of us, I came from a public school where there was always a social hierarchy and no sense of community. Because of that, coming to De La Salle was a huge change in everything. At first, I was very wary of everything and everyone, but after a little bit, I was able to see how genuine people really were, and that changed my view on the school. It was only when I truly let myself be a part of the community that I realized how much of a family everyone actually was. Something I love about the De La Salle community is that everyone is super inclusive, and they're the type to hype you up for everything. I've come to know that's just part of our culture. I also had a lot of trouble opening up at first, but then I met a couple people that taught me the importance of having a couple of close, true friends rather than talking to everyone as an acquaintance. I feel as though an essential part of life is having those you know, without question, that you feel comfortable enough to be able to open your heart up to, and not have to worry about being judged or ignored. Without De La Salle, I probably would have gone years without learning this lesson that is so vital in life. You need people by your side. You cannot go through life thinking that you'll make it alone, because you will not. Let yourself care for others and let others care for you. Relationships are extremely important, and that not only relates to friendships with peers, but also relationships with adults. De La Salle emphasizes the need for students to interact with the faculty, for us to have someone or multiple people to guide us and get advice from, and for us to just be comfortable bonding with adults. The community is what makes De La Salle so special because it includes everyone, students and faculty alike. We have made so many memories hanging out and eating way too much candy in 5AB, courtesy of Mr. Lopez, chatting in the cafeteria after school, or watching Mr. Hip do a headstand in the 6th grade. In 7th grade, we went to the brother's house for a treat. It was honestly indescribable. It was an emotional day with a lot of tears, yet not uncomfortable at all. In fact, the whole vibe was almost blissful. We shared our feelings and our stories and found solace in one another. I just felt so much relief and peace afterwards, and I think I speak for everyone when I say that we all connected on a much deeper level that day. In the beginning of this school year, it was hard to believe we were 8th graders, as we did a significant amount of the year online. And now we're graduating, and I still don't think I've processed it, even after this speech. I know when it finally hits, there will be tears, but right now, I just want to say to my classmates, Brother Brian, faculty, and administrators, your stories and words have inspired me, have helped me find my voice, and influenced me to help others do the same. De La Salle has taught me so much, and has prepared me to be a leader in my future schools and community. And it wasn't the building or the name that did that, but the people within it, and I'm forever grateful. As I reflect on these past 3 years, it is not only the big events that I reminisce on, but the small moments of joy. The hugs and the frenzy of Carson Hall in the morning, because who can forget the De La Salle Casino days? This moment is quite bittersweet for me. We're now closing the chapter to our middle school lives and embarking onto the next step. But as my favorite fictional bear, Winnie the Pooh, once said, how lucky am I to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard? However, with the bonds we've made, I know this isn't goodbye. Your stories and our memories will be with me forever. What we have established here is long-lasting, and if the bond between Dr. G and Mr. T is any indication, the De La Salle community is not one that will fade with distance, but stay strong over time. So with that, thank you, good luck, and congratulations to the class of 2021.
like the founding classes of 1986 and 1987, the class of 2021, you guys are pioneers. Believe it or not, the older faculty and alumni talk lovingly that there was something special when we were all tightly packed like sardines into a tight corridor space as we changed classes and lined up to go down to lunch in the old De La Salle. In a sardine can, there's no way that people couldn't get to meet you and to know who you were. And now our morning gatherings in Carson Hall, that's what brings us together. But however, this year of the COVID protocols has separated us from each other. The few times we were together, it was an effort to try to share just any moments of laughter, love, and type of intimacy that comes from trust, that sense of feel connected. We actually have lost the De La Salle hug. In my many years of experience, I cannot recall any other time where there existed an almost universal anxiety that transcended age, gender, race, religion, and national origin. Most adults I know find it difficult to make sense of what is happening. But we are so grateful, so grateful for the vaccine. If the adults are anxious, well, you surely know, the impact it is having on you and your generation. Yes, we must do what we can to still be in community. Though distant, we need to remain in community. So some of us here, like me, have lived through periods of both optimism, and deep sadness, because we know that life is cyclical, with high points and low. But you, our loving graduates, find yourselves in one of those anxious and stressful low points. So changes in the air, for better or for worse. Civility seems to have been diminishing. People aren't listening to one another. Ideology silences dialogue, and there is pressure to choose a side. We rely, many of us, on social media to find our voice. So Instagram, Snapchat, Google, and those of you who are older, Facebook, Chat are poor substitutes for a personal relationship. And LOL fails to describe the joy of a good, hearty laugh. Yes, these are difficult times. Now, those of you know that, I like to teach through stories. I like to tell stories. And I have shared many of them at our community meetings about the early days and the people who made De La Salle possible. Well, I would like to share one last significant story that made a difference for me and also for you. It is how we came to be here today. Now, I remember the stories that I told you that when we started, we had nothing. I mean, literally, we had nothing. There was no money, no equipment, no resources other than what we could raise from the Monsignor Kelly alums. And some folks said that I was crazy to keep going. People doubted me. It won't work. Brian, it won't work, they said. Well, I was becoming anxious and afraid. Well, the story is about my terror dream. You know what they are. You probably had a couple this year. Mr. Dr. G, how many have you had? And you know the dream I'm talking about. These are the ones where you wake up in a cold sweat with your heart beating loudly and your mind going 90 miles an hour. You're full of fear, and it is absolutely impossible to fall back to sleep. Well, my terror dream came in the beginning of June 1984. I had done most of the necessary things for us to get started. Needed to apply to the state to get a charter to run the school from the Regents of the state of New York. We got it. We had our entrance exams, held our interviews, and I actually went to all of the schools that the kids came from to hold the interviews where they were, because we had no school yet to be able to have them come together. We made our decisions, who was coming. We signed a lease for the building. We chose the faculty, raised some money, but just about enough to get us through Christmas. Now, we still had to get the building prepared. We needed to get furniture, equipment, okay, and build the curriculum. Well, that night, Sarah, I woke bolt upright in my bed, sweat pouring off me, my heart pounding. And I heard a voice in my head saying, Brian, you still have time to back out of this. You still have time to back out of this. People will understand. It just took so many things to fall into place that still there's so much to be done. You didn't have enough time. Brian, you didn't have enough time. People will still have time to cancel, okay, and go back to their old schools. So you did the best, okay, but there's just too many obstacles to overcome. Well, at least you tried. At least you tried. So let it go. Let it go. And that voice was beginning to have an effect on me. But then I heard another voice, louder than the first, saying, do you think you really did all these things by yourself? Do you think this is just by chance? Brian, I have carried you all this way so far. I am not going to drop you now. So trust me, this is my work. In hearing that voice, I fell right back to sleep and never doubted again, because I had heard God's voice. Now God's voice is speaking to me again. It is time for me to listen and to allow De La Salle to be led into the future. So now God is calling Dr. G to guide this wonderful work that is God's into the future. And I am sure that Dr. G himself has had a terror dream or two or three or four this past year. Okay? Also answering the call to lead with him, okay, are Mr. T, Miss Lem, Miss Carol, Miss Phillips Sybil, Miss Morency, Miss Soto, Miss O'Brien, Mr. Vasquez, Brother David, Sister Mary, the leadership team. Now it is Dr. Gonzalez's turn to understand fully that God is watching over us. We could not have accomplished so much if it hadn't been without God's guiding hand. So when we pray each day, our prayer that we remember that we are in God's holy presence really starts our daily dialogue with God. And we trust that by living as a loving community, we become closer to God, because trust is love. Okay, we all know that God is love. Now, God told you in the letter from him that you received in the 7th grade retreat at Brother David's place, okay, that we've all been given a good package. You've all been given a good package of gifts and abilities. None of us is like anyone else, and that is as it should be. So you too have been called. Your mission, should you accept it, is to go forward and make a difference. Because there is a community behind you. You are not alone. So the light is slowly coming back on into our lives, into our city, and into our country. And as tough as it is, and as reluctant as you may be, you have to be the candles that pierce the darkness around you. As more of us do the same, and the candles multiply, so does the brightness of the light. So don't lose interest in things political and fall back into indifference. You remember, solo lo pido a Dios, no me sea indiferente. I beg you, please do not fall into fear, isolation, and indifference. We have lived this past year in virtual isolation, but we still had the community. Don't let the winds of change that are swirling around us diminish your light. So the answer to your questions about life are found in prayer, in your own words, and to the God of your faith. Only through prayer and taking God up on his invitation, okay, at the 7th grade letter, remember he said, let's talk. So will the sadness and anxiety lift. So, be the light. Be the light. By your example, be the light. By holding on to your negotiables, non-negotiables, be the light. And through your leadership, be the light. Through all that you have learned and experienced here at De La Salle, be the light. Bring that light with you as you go forward. As we said on retreat, make sure you continue to have a group of wise adults in your life to whom you can turn in times of crisis, conflict, and pain. You have been blessed with a loving and caring community of teachers, and I am sure that some of them have had their terror dreams as well, because they worry about you. So we, your loving friends, the faculty, pledge our continued support and make good use of us in the future. Remember also that you will have to be among the school's major financial supporters in years to come. So do well. So our prayers are with you. You know that you will always be in my prayers. In your diploma, you have received a second letter from God. And God is inviting you to a more adult relationship. So be not afraid, okay, as you go forth into your new communities. Continue to define your non-negotiables. Again, be the light. Just be the light. So may your God, your family, your De La Salle brothers and sisters, the gratitude of your De La Salle children, and the love of the board and faculty live in your hearts forever. We love you much.
We have a special dedication this morning, and so I'm going to ask the following students to please stand. Lani Moon, Jane Lim, Clive Chong, and Danielle Atto. Please join me on the stage. The person we're honoring has no idea that we're honoring him. And I've invited these 4 students to share a few words.
Answering the divine call to start a school for academically talented middle school children from low-income and working-class families, Brother Brian opened De La Salle Academy in 1984. 37 years later, the school has transformed the lives of over 1,700 students. Throughout the years, Brother Brian and the faculty have cultivated a unique community that has had a lasting impact on every individual who is fortunate enough to become a part of it.
My fellow graduates and I are part of this incredible legacy that began all those years ago. Thank you, Brother Brian, for answering the call and opening De La Salle Academy. We are grateful for the love and wisdom you have shared with us through the years.
Perhaps one of the most lasting memories many alumni have of the olden days of De La Salle is an image of Brother Brian watching over them as they played on the gritty street and sidewalk of West 97th Street. As he watched from the steps of the Holy Name School, Brother Brian held in one hand one of the most prized heirlooms of our community, the DLSA bell.
Every year, at least one student has been selected to be the bell ringer. More than just the signal that starts and ends of classes, the De La Salle bell is an invitation to recall that we are in the holy presence of our God and the holy presence of one another. It is in many ways the heartbeat and rhythm of the De La Salle community. Therefore, in commemoration of Brother Brian's retirement, as well as in commemoration of his legacy, it is our honor to present Brother Brian with a replica of the De La Salle bell so that he may continue to be reminded of the many lives he called to share in the sacred experience of community.
we have made it our tradition to end our graduation exercises with prayers of blessing. To bless is to call down God's presence and power in our lives, so that those who pray and those for whom we pray may be touched by that power and by that presence. Mrs. Carroll, we're going to ask everybody to please stand. And in your program, families, you'll see that there is a prayer of the parents and guardians. We invite the parents and the guardians of the graduates to pray together now for their children as they set out on their new road. Please join Mrs. Carroll in reciting the prayer of the parents.
Let us pray that our sons and daughters go forth from De La Salle, imbued with a strong and loving concern for others and a willingness to live as faith-filled people, dedicated to the search for truth and goodness. O Lord, fill them with grace and guide them on a path that leads ever closer to you. We pray to the Lord. Lord, hear our prayer.
I now ask the faculty and staff members to extend their hand in blessings and join with me in the prayer of the faculty. May the Lord bless you. May you be kept in the palm of God's hand. May God give you a growing vision of the goodness there is to find in life. May you grow in faith and understanding and bring hope and compassion to all you meet. May you walk proudly with integrity and the desire for true justice in your dealings with others. May your lives bring joy and new life to all those you love. We pray to the Lord. Lord, hear our prayer. And finally, we ask everyone here assembled to kindly join in reciting the prayer and the blessing for the graduates. We thank our God for you every time we think of you, and every time we pray for you all. We pray with joy because of the way in which you have helped us in our work, from the very first day until now. And so we are sure that God, who began this good work in you, will carry it on until it is finished. You are always in our hearts, and so it is only right for us to feel as we do about you. For you have all shared with us in this privilege God has given us. God is our witness that our deep feeling for you all come from God's own heart. We pray that your love will keep on growing more and more, together with true knowledge and perfect judgment, so that you will be able to choose what is best. Then you will be free from all blame on the day of the Lord. Your lives will be filled with the truly good qualities which only our God can produce. For the glory and praise of God, amen. We're now going to begin our recession. We ask families and guests to please remain at your seats. The graduates will recess out, followed by the faculty, and we will gather back under the tent in fellowship.